In our culture that doesn't like to acknowledge loss or talk about its impact, it's difficult to grieve. And when we add this silence to the fact that most of us have never been taught about the process normalcy of grief, no wonder we struggle. Depression, anger problems, and even suicidal thoughts may appear when people stifle grief, trying to hide it from others. Many people who have lost someone believe that they the only one to experience this sort of emotions. If you feel that way, you are not alone. Today in this video, I would like to dispel some misconceptions that surround grief. If you or someone you know has lost someone, I hope you will find this information helpful. One of the misconceptions is that grief looks a certain way in the early days. Tears, intense sadness, and hopelessness. In reality, grief looks different for every single person. Some people cry intensely and some don't cry at all. Some people break down and others stand firm. There is no way to label what raw grief looks like, as we all handle our loss in different ways due to different circumstances and various life backgrounds that shape who we are. Next misconception is that the grieving need about a year to heal. In reality, sometimes grief doesn't even get started till after the first year. Countless grieving people say year 2 is harder than year 1. There is the shock, end-of-life arrangements, and other business matters that often consume the first year, and the grieving doesn't have the time actually to sit back and take the time to grieve. The reality is there is no acceptable time frame associated with grief. Next misconception is that grieving will need you most the first few weeks. In reality, the grieving people are flooded with offers of help the first few weeks. In many cases, helping the grieving 6 months or a year down the line can be far more helpful because everyone has returned to their lives and the grief-stricken are left to figure it out alone. Next misconception: the grieving should bury the dead forever. After a year, it is uncomfortable for the grieving to speak of their lost loved one. If they continue to talk about them, they are stuck in the grief and needed to move on. In reality, the grieving should speak of the dead forever if that's what they wish to do. When someone dies, that doesn't erase the memories you made, the love you shared, and their place in your heart. It's not only okay to speak of the dead after they're gone, but it's also a healthy and peaceful way to move forward. The next misconception: time heals all wounds. In reality, time softens the part of the pain, but you are never completely healed. Rather than setting up false expectations of healing, let's talk about realistic expectations of growth and forward movement. Grief changes who you are at the deepest levels. And while you may not forever be in an active mode of grief, you will forever be shaped by the loss you have endured. Another misconception is grief is a linear process and a series of steps to be taken. Each level is neatly defined and the order predetermined. However, in reality, grief is an ugly mess full of pitfalls, missteps, sinking and swimming. Like board games, you never know when the board might pull you back and send you down the ladder screaming at the top of your lungs. Just when you think you've arrived at the finish, you draw a card that sends you back to start, and just when it appears you've lost the game, you jump ahead and come one step closer to the front of the line. Next misconception is the grieving should seek professional counseling exclusively. But in reality, the grieving should seek professional counseling if they wish so, but also the grieving should look strongly toward alternative types of therapy like fitness, art, music, meditation and journaling. The grieving should take an active part in the grief process and understand that coping comes in many different forms for all the different people who walk this earth. Another misconception is the grieving either live in the past or the present. It's not possible to have a multitude of emotions, but reality says that the grieving live their lives with intense moments of duality, moments of incredible happiness mixed with feelings of deep sadness. There is a depth of emotion that forever accompany those who have lived with a loss. That duality can cause constant reflection and a deep appreciation of all life has to offer. One of the last misconceptions I would like to talk about in this video is that a grieving should be able to handle business as usual within a few weeks. However, in reality, the brain of a grieving person can be a thick fog, especially for those who have experienced extreme shock for more than a year. Expect forgetfulness, a reduced ability to handle stress, and grayness to be commonplace after a loss. In this video, we've just scratched the surface of the many areas where grief is misunderstood in our society. But 100% of the people who walk this earth will deal with death. Each of us will experience the passing of someone close that we love. There is not a quick fix, a cure-all, a pill that can help the grieving to get over it. The reality is you will grieve in some capacity for the rest of your life. Once loss touches you, you are forever changed, despite what others might tell you. So stop looking at the misconceptions. Instead, turn inward and look at the vulnerable reality of a heart that knows the truth about loss.